Hi guys, if you're a regular to this channel, you know that I prefer to listen to experts over politicians. And probably the most famous expert at the moment, especially when it comes to the cost of living crisis, is Martin Lewis. Now, he has not been just the man to deliver the type of impartial advice that consumers need, but he's also used his significant influence to pressure both suppliers of services, recently those being energy companies, to help consumers. But he's also pressured government to put in place measures to protect the most vulnerable in society. So when he was pushed on Brexit, he paused and then said this.
I'm not asking you to give a political opinion, but in your assessment, in your area of expertise, how has Brexit affected consumers?
Can I give you that? It is going to be if we took it on a purely consumer level, it is going to be very difficult to see. It is what comes of the current regulations that are going to go through, how many of them are going to be kept and how many aren't. There are many consumer protections that were put in place by the European Union that need to be continued in this country or people won't be protected. So there is a question of how many of those will continue to be in place once I've forgotten what they call it, the Henry VIII, what's it called?
Henry VIII powers, yeah.
That one, when we see through the Henry VIII powers, which I think will be a differentiator. But I do that in the very narrow definition of consumers. Clearly, the biggest impact of Brexit on consumers is the economic impact of Brexit. Now, that is an absolute political hot potato, and I'm a consumer finance expert. I'm not an economist. I have not done a study on it. I've not spent time on it, and I'm not going to give an answer on it because I don't believe that. I think it would be detrimental to the authority of this committee if I made a nonsense answer based on no research. So you forgive me, I'm not going to give you an answer.
Well, as you're...
And well said. Well done. He's an expert in consumer affairs. He's not an economist, and he was honest enough to admit that and say that I'm not going to damage the reputation of this committee by giving a stupid answer. But what did he say? So he talked here about consumer protections when the UK was a member of the European Union. And it depends on whether the Tories and the Labour Party that come after will maintain those protections because they're part of UK law. So it requires the government and Parliament to undo them. Now, the Brexiteers are talking about removing 2,500 of these EU laws, so-called EU laws. They're part of UK law, but they originated in the EU, which the UK was part of the writing process, we have to remember as well. But if these laws are removed, many protections for citizens and protections for consumers will go with them. And that is not helpful for ordinary people. There are protections when it comes to a whole range of things. So it's very honest of him to say, look, I'm not an economist, but if you want to ask the economists how Brexit is damaging the economy, they will explain that it is. And that's, 99% of economists are saying that Brexit is damaging the economy. The 1% we can ignore. They're ideologues. But when it comes to consumer protections, he's been very clear here. There are protections in place that when we're a member of the European Union, and if they are removed, then it's likely, as the Brexiteers have been saying, we want to get rid of these laws. It's likely that this will negatively impact the consumer. Because I've said before, Brexit was twofold. The vote was for the xenophobes and the racists and bigots, but also the disaster capitalists. It was about removing protections for the environment, protections for workers, and of course, protections for the consumer. It's about allowing businesses to do whatever the hell they want. So kudos to Martin Lewis here for being honest about what he knew and what he didn't know. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.